Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the Valentine's rare machine that is coming to North America this Monday. So, as a big surprise to everyone, we actually are going to be receiving Valentine's rare machine during Valentine's time, because historically it's happened several months in the past, but Gung Ho in North America seems to be stepping up their game in terms of closing the gap between seasonal content being released at the appropriate time. Regardless of all that, the Valentine's rare machine is still very notable in the sense that it provides you the highest chance to roll any Gemstone Princess. And Gemstone Princesses are the best form of damage burst you can acquire at this point in time, because they scale off of Awakening, so they have universal appeal across basically every type of team as long as their specific Awakening is present, and obviously in large numbers. With that being said, there are 2 new cards that have been released, as well as buffs to the existing cards to try and give them a bit more viability at this point in time. So overall, we have 2 8-stars, 3 7s, 3 6s, and then all the Chinese Celestials at the bottom. So all the 6 stars are Gemstone Princesses, which are desirable to roll, and they have an amazingly high 7.5% rolling rate, and then everything obviously gets worse the higher up you go. Unfortunately, the collab, in my opinion, is not as strong as it possibly could be. Carrot is still still is the best damage burst solution for a wide variety of teams. Virtually every single endgame team as well as farming team will use Carrot as their burst of choice, because she provides a high level of burst damage because skill boosts are so plentiful, as well as super skill boosts now, as well as the fact that I forgot why, but it's important. I'll talk about when I get to Carrot at that point. So Pancake is laughing at me at this point in time, but that is okay. And then we obviously go down. So in all honesty, rolling this event is mostly for acquiring those Gemstone Princesses. So cards that can be limit broken will have their level color indicated as blue. If that is true, they can be fused to Super Snow Globe, which means they can then acquire additional monster experience to push themselves all the way to level 110, and then they have the possibility of also acquiring super awakenings, which gives them an extra awakening in solo mode. Weapon assists are not relevant for this event, but it's still worth noting that weapon assists do exist. So Valentine's Neime is a returning card, and she does feature an incredibly strong active skill. She's able to reduce bind and awoken bind status by 5 turns, as well as giving you a tri-elemental board of dark, light, and heal. So either one of those components is valuable, but being able to combine both of them helps ensure that neither actually goes to waste. And in endgame content, you pretty much always want to have a board changer that's tri-elemental to make your follow-up attack, possibly VDP along with that. And you also need a solution for Awoken Bind. So Valentine's Neime's active skill covers many bases very well. Her leader skill is alright, but the main drawback is that it's restricted to dragon types, which can be a little bit problematic, but it's her awakenings and sub potential that gets most people quite excited. So she still has a single VDP, double 7 combo, and double TPA, which gives her a very high amount of personal damage for when you need to make that 3x3 box to penetrate through that mechanic. Furthermore, through her Super Awakening, she can gain a second VDP, which makes her damage output even higher and significantly easier then to pierce through. Of course, that does not take effect in co-op mode, but it makes her one of the stronger VDP options in solo at this point in time. In addition to that, she also can be limit broken, which makes sense for Super Awakenings, but then her weighted stats do climb up to 1300, which brings her on par with lots of the other top tier cards at this point in time. So basically her strengths are she has high personal damage with the chance of using VDP. She also has an incredibly strong active skill. The main drawback, at least in my opinion, is that her typing kind of excludes her from lots of different types of teams and colors. So right now, in terms of truly strong and powerful leaders, we have Yusuke, we have Beach Barber and Julie, we have Edward, we have Dark Metatron, we have things like Razor and New Year's Artemis, so on and so forth. And the main drawback is that Valentine's Neime, in my opinion, doesn't fit that well on those types of teams, mostly because either her board changer is inappropriate, she is the wrong typing or wrong color, and the one team that I can see her being used on mostly is Edward, because Edward can use any color cards. Valentine's Neime can be a nice alternative to Odin Dragon if that is what you need. But another drawback is that there are so many different high damage cards in existence out there, so you have to do something truly amazing to stand out, and obviously have synergy on those types of specific teams. Now, with that being said, her active skill is still very powerful and it is inheritable. So if you are requiring a Woken and a Bind Clear with ideally a light or dark based team, it can be inherited around if you are lacking Odin Dragon or Green Odin Weapon assists. Valentine Sonia is a brand new 8-star card. She features a unique active skill because she's able to convert the board to fire and dark orbs while unlocking them beforehand, and then afterwards spawn 3 hard orbs at random. So you are still going to have enough orbs for a VDP. You are able to deal meaningful amounts of damage and then also heal at the same time. So this definitely can help out in the situation where you need to heal and deal damage. In terms of her leader skill, she's restricted to dragon types as well, but her multipliers are significantly higher compared to Valentine's Neime. She is able to provide a flat 9 times RCV, so you can always heal up to full health, which is meaningful, provided you can actually withstand the incoming attack. And then you have 75% damage reduction and your full multiplier when you connect 6 or more fire orbs. So being that degree of orb hungriness can be a little problematic because you can run out of orbs and then you don't have the damage reduction, you can get hit, and then that's when bad things start to happen. But of course, you can use something like a Nidhogg system, which is kind of silly when you think about it. It's one of the higher rarity farmable Descend cards that needs 30 skill ups. If you have 4 of them or 120 skill ups, you're able to form this looping system that basically, well, to a certain extent can't die because you have 75% damage reduction, which is effectively 4 times health. You also have permanent high amounts of damage output because you get a fire row, and it goes quite quickly. So that is one of her more desirable teams for playing through hard content if you are able to acquire Nidhogg. Of course, you can use traditional subs, but you do obviously run into the issue of running out of fire orbs, which means you may not be dealing damage, you become vulnerable. So she is still a powerful card, but a little less flexible applications overall compared to other options at this point in time. Valentine's Astaroth is one of the few cards that actually got significantly better the second time around. So the only thing that really changed is she gets Super Awakenings, which everyone did, but it's her leader skill that made her quite exciting. So instead of being a 5 orb 1 enhanced leader, she is now a Connect 5 or Match 5 leader. And that means she is able to proc her damage reduction and damage multiplier off of any 5 connected orbs. They could, or 5 or more. So that could be poison, jammer, hearts, what color you want. That gives her great amounts of consistency. So she's basically always going to have this 43.75% damage reduction. But at the same time, if you also match wood and light, you get another damage boost and another layer of damage reduction. So you combine both components, which are both quite easy on their own, you'll have a massive 68.36% damage reduction. This eclipses Evolve Madu while also having the same attack multiplier. The main drawback of Valentine's Astaroth is that her personal damage output is kind of lacking. It's tied to L Awakenings, which you need 5 wood orbs, which may not always be present. And she doesn't have like too many other like sexier awakenings. She doesn't have VDP. She does get follow-up attack in her Super Awakenings, but that is no good in co-op mode. So that can be a little bit of a drawback. Furthermore, she does not provide much time extend, and while that may be a player skill issue, you can say, if you only have a relatively low orb movement time, it's going to be more challenging to connect those 5 orbs and match other combos alongside of it. So she is significantly stronger compared to before, but again, does face the same problems as other Connect 5 leaders, like lower combo count and mostly just the lower combo count. Next is Valentine's Kushinadahime. Her leader skill has been buffed to 2.25 times stats to all stats to God, so now she has a recovery component, which does definitely solve the healing issue. So she has the same defensive multipliers as Yusuke, which is reasonably strong overall, and her attack multiplier caps out at 324 times. Now, on paper, this looks great, but the problem is this doesn't play out well in actuality. She has low or no personal damage. She needs 7 combo awakening to actually tap into some personal damage, which is lower. But the problem is she's a no Skyfall leader, and that means you can't kind of luck into additional combos, but her damage multiplier is directly tied to the number of combos you do make. So on an average given board, you have 7 to 8 combos, and with 7 combos matched, you have only 81 times damage, which is further compounded by the fact that she has low or no personal damage. That's going to be challenging. You may not even deal enough damage to kill things. Furthermore, you tie Yusuke's multiplier at 9 combos, so you need a 9 combo board of no Skyfalls. That's going to be quite challenging to achieve all the time. It's going to be impossible on most boards, so that is the main reason why Kushinadahime in even her rare machine form has fallen out of favor because her damage output is capped because you may not have a favorable board. And at this point in time, damage control is far less mandatory than it used to be because now we have an abundance of Fujin style active skills, we have follow-up attack, we have box awakenings, we have ways to deal with spawns that we had to damage control that does not require it from our leader skill component. So that is the main reason why Kushinadahime has definitely declined over time. Valentine's Venus is the second of 2 new cards being released, and she is quite unique. Her active skill scales like a Gemstone Princess. It counts the number of TPA awakenings on your team, and each one adds another 10%. It's cumulative, so basically, if you have 10 TPA awakenings, you have 100% damage reduction on a 10-turn cooldown. So this is very fast for full damage immunity. But the problem is, how often do we really need 100% damage reduction? Like, it's quite situational overall. Like, 75% tends to be usually enough to survive most attacks in the game, unless it's an outrageously large gravity style attack, which you obviously need something higher. But the point of the matter is, it's quite niche overall, and the fact is, TPAs are not the most abundant awakening on most teams. Yes, if you use something like Sheet, it's going to be there, but then again, do you really need 100% damage reduction on Sheet's team? She has quite high effective health already. Is it really needed? So it's cool in concept, but it doesn't necessarily pan out practically overall. So that is the main reason why Venus is going to be quite niche and situational overall. Now, you can purchase her as one of the limited bundles, and it will also unlock her orb skin. Even rolling her unlocks an orb skin, so if you're interested in those orb skins and the cosmetic benefits, something to consider, but in all honesty, she is a mediocre card overall. Can you turn down the oil? The 6-star cards now are kind of some of the true shining gems, so to speak, in this event, because they are the reskin colors of Gemstone Princesses. So they have the same active skill as their rare machine counterparts. They scale off of a specific awakening, and they also scale off of their super awakenings. So a skill boost would count as 1, and a super skill boost counts as 2. Same applies for time extend. And the way they work is that their formula is 1 plus 0.3n, where n is the number of those respective awakenings. So if your team had 8 time extend awakenings, Sheen would provide you with 0.3 times 8, 2.4, plus 1 is 3.4 times attack for 2 turns. And this is the main reason why gemstones are so valuable. They give you 2 turns of high burst damage, and if you have Carrot, who scales off a skill boost, which basically every single card in the game has, you have a very reliable source of damage. And this is one of the main reasons why this event is not as horrible as it normally would have been, because we have a very high chance of actually rolling these Gemstone Princesses. So Carrot scales off skill boosts, and skill boosts are found on virtually every card. Even if we only have 8 skill boosts on a team, which is quite low considering Friends Leader 6 cards, that would still be 3.4 times attack, which is probably enough to kill most things, but it's going to be much higher most likely because most cards have 1 or 2 skill boosts already. So that is the reason why Carrot is so valuable. Basically all endgame style teams are going to be able to use Carrot well, because there's no alternative to skill boost. Cards just have skill boosts, whereas things like Sheen, who scales off of time extend, have kind of actually become nerfed over time, because we now have leader skills that have built-in movement time, which means they don't actually have the time extend awakening. So Carrot is by far the best gemstone overall because she scales off skill boosts. Sheen can still work on certain teams that actually have time extend awakenings, like Edward teams often have a generous amount of orb movement time because both Edwards at least have 2 each. Your subs, if you run things like Yuna, New Year's Yomi, so on and so forth, you might have enough, but generally speaking, skill boost is more universally available. And then lastly is Facette, who is TPA based, and in all honesty, TPA is not that common of a awakening. Yes, on things like Sheet teams, you'll see lots of those, but again, use your judgment, count the awakenings, choose the one that's best for your team if you have all the options available. And finally, we come to all the Chinese Celestials. So they are basically, it's Karen, Leyland, Meimei, Sakuya, and Haku in festive outfits. So if that's kind of your jam, you can roll, and that's going to be like your collateral bad roll. You might be happy, you get a nice box cheerleader. They have a tri-elemental or a 4-elemental board changer, but the problem is they do not generate hearts. And because they don't generate hearts, it means you cannot heal and deal damage, but the more important issue is you can't deal damage and have a follow-up attack to deal with resolve spawns. So in all honesty, aside from box cheerleading, they may be reasonable cards for a newer account that does not have many board changers available. It might even be worth rolling once or twice to get a board changer if you have absolutely none. The chance of getting a diamond egg might offset that as well, but again, it's kind of like scraping kind of the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. So, in conclusion, the Valentine's Rare Machine is reasonable overall just because the Gemstone Princesses have such a high rolling rate and Carrot is so strong at this point in time. Now, of course, the decision of whether or not to roll comes down to your own individual monster box and needs. It's by no means you have to actually participate. I think if there's a free roll, you can do the free roll and just stop right there. So, with that being said, let me know what you think about this event in the comments below. Do you plan on chasing these cards, or you just kind of just let it slide past you? Hopefully you'll have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.